It might look straight, but just like me, it's got one hell of a curve. Hey folks, we're back again with another video, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to be changing the compression tune on a RockShox Deluxe Ultimate RCT rear shock. This is a C1 chassis version of the shock, so you really want to know your chassis version if you're going to be changing tunes on shocks, because over the years they made minor changes and different shim recommendations based off what you're trying to accomplish, okay? So the reason I'm doing this for this particular shock is shocks come, when they come on bikes from the factory or from the bike manufacturer, a lot of them come with custom tunes. And sometimes these tunes don't work well between bikes, right? So for instance, this one over here from the factory on the bike that it was originally on came with a digressive tune. The bike that this is going to be going on to has a very progressive linkage on its frame design. And ultimately, that frame design was actually developed and designed for a linear-based shock. This digressive shock, it works. I mean, it's not like it doesn't work, but it definitely mutes the ride a little bit, right? The digressive tune definitely flattens things out. It has its advantages, don't get me wrong, but overall, especially for a bike with a very progressive design, it just makes things a little bit too flat. It's hard to explain. So what I'm going to be doing is changing this to a linear compression tune instead, which was, well, what the bike was designed for and what they've been selling that particular bike or the shocks for that particular bike with. This isn't a hard job. And I'm not going to obviously start this job from tearing the whole shock down. I already have a video on this particular model shock out there as far as how to do a 200-hour service on it. And to tear it apart, you're going to have to go through that video up to the point where we start disassembling the piston stack. And that's where this video will start, where we take out the lifting plate and the locking shim, and then we get into the shims and change out the compression stack, okay? With all that being said, let's go into some tools that are going to be needed to get this job done. As for tools, at a minimum, we are going to need a vise, 10mm hole soft jaws. Might need a plier to take out the lifting rod. You might be able to do it with your fingers. Sometimes it's hit and miss with that one. Needle nose plier. But we will be needing, unfortunately, a custom tool from RockShox in order to remove the locking plate. This tool, I wish they didn't go this direction. If you don't have an RCT or a nude, you don't need this tool to get this job done. But unfortunately, we're going to need that, and we're going to need a 24mm crow's foot in order to torque the lock ring back down. To take out the nut that holds the shims, or the bolt that holds the shims, 12mm socket. A pick might come in handy. What you will absolutely be needing is a caliper. You can't get away from that. You will need a caliper to measure each shim in order to verify what you have, and also to make sure that you put in the appropriate shim orders, okay? Now, one more thing you will be needing that will come in handy. If you go to RockShox, they have a manual that provides different shim stacks solutions for different scenarios, right? So rebound, compression. If you download this and print it, it'll make your life a lot easier, because we're going to try and match and make sure that we have everything correct, okay? So again, RockShox provides this at their site. Maybe I'll put a link to the PDF in the description section below. All right, that's pretty much all we need, guys. Let's get on to the job. For starters, we're going to need to put the shaft into a 10mm hole in a soft jaw, right? So what we're going to do first is make sure the shaft is clean of grease and oil, so we get good grip. Take it, put it in, make sure you got enough space, lift the air can piston enough where you can fit it underneath if yours is tight, and then we lock it down. Don't over tighten it, just a bit, make it nice and snug. All right, now we'll try and remove our lifting plate by hand. Don't touch the fins, just touch the main body. If you can't do it, if you find it's difficult, use a needle nose plier to lift it. Next, we take off our locking plate. So the way the locking plate works, it's got a guide on it, right? And that guide goes into one of the fins over here on the lifting plate. So our tool over here, we're going to need this tool to remove that locking plate. If you have a nude or an RCT shock, you need this tool to remove the locking plate. The way it works, there's 3 holes at the bottom and there's 3 nipples. Ooh, nipples. What we're going to do is line up the hole on the guide, one of the holes on the guide, just like that. And then 24 millimeter crow's foot. If you could do it by hand, you might be able to do it by hand. Oop, I just did it by hand. Worst case scenario, if you can't do it by hand, 20 millimeters, any 24 millimeter, or plier or channel lock, adjustable wrench. But ultimately, a crow's foot, a 24 millimeters crow's foot is going to be needed to actually torque this thing back down. Okay, so what we're going to do now, loosen the lock plate. Now, when we lift the lock plate, chances are there's going to be shim stuck underneath it. These are the lock shims. And there we go. Actually, we got at least one over there. And two over here. So let's loosen these guys. Let's remove these guys by giving them a gentle tap in the back if this fits in there. There we go. Okay, so that's our two shims there. And then to make sure we have them in order, because these you leave as is. Yep, there's two of them down here, two small ones down here. So I thought, okay. So we got two small ones down here. I took them off like this. That means they go up like this. All right. So that is our locking shims. These shims we don't touch. They stay as is by default. So we're going to leave this whole mechanism as is intact. Well, as is intact, just like that. All right. So I'm going to put that on the side. I mean, I could separate them for you, I guess. We're going through all this. Why not? So the way it works, we have 1, 2, and another smaller one and the larger one in back, right? Yep. And a smaller one and the larger one. These, again, these are default. We do not change these, and our locking plate. Now we will remove the piston assembly that holds the rebound shims and the compression shims. To remove the bolt that's holding it together, we're going to need a 12 millimeter socket. Let's loosen it. There we go. Now, what we will do to make our lives easier, take a zip tie or a tie wrap like this one, put it all the way down into the shaft. All right, and then we're going to loosen this whole thing. And then we're going to remove the whole thing as one mechanism from the bottom. All right. Now, here it's going to get a little bit tricky. We got to be very careful because shims, it's amazing how they stick to each other. Okay. At the bottom, we have our compression shims. At the top in here, we have our rebound shims. We're going to start off with the compression shims. Okay. Only because right now it's a little bit easier to get into with this style of shim stack. So we're going to line them up as we take them out this way. Okay, so the flat part goes to the bottom, and we need to look at the inside, and we have a whole bunch of shim stuck on him. So we're going to put this guy down. So now we're going to make sure that we separate these, make sure there's nothing stuck to each other. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got this guy here, and we got a small one for the inside of him. Then this guy, this is without a doubt a digressive stack. There's no questions asked. Okay. And this is how it ends. This is how our shim stack ends. All right, let's just make some more room. Hopefully the camera doesn't overheat. Then we have more on top. So let's try and get these guys out of here. All right, the little ones are holding the bigger ones back. Now, we have more little ones here. We got 1, always rub them, make sure that they're not stuck together. 2, rub them, make sure they're not stuck together. Then we got this guy. 3, 4, it's not stuck together. And we got at least one more, 2 more over here, or 1 more, hard to tell. Actually, it's 3 more. Okay, so now we're going to go up here. So we got one of these guys. We got the small one that goes underneath them. We got this guy here. And then we have our piston head, all right? So essentially we're going like this. So now our piston head would go this way, would face this way. So now we're going to take out our rebound shims. Let's see if we could dislodge them. I'm going to tap in the back over here, and all of them should have fallen out. Yes, they did, right? So let's remove our rebound shims. So this is the top. This goes to the inside, right? Let's leave it like that. Remind me. Now, oops, see what I mean? They look like they're one, but they're not. There's two. 1, 2. And there's 2 small ones that are stuck to the base. That's the thing you gotta watch out. These things get stuck real easy to each other and to everything around them. Now this guy's gonna need a little bit of finagling to get out. Come on. In fact, I'm gonna separate them. Let's do it like this. 2, 3. That's gonna be our rebound up there. All right. And there we go. Last 2. And our bolt. So that is our lock shim, rebound shims, and our compression stack order. Next, we will match it to verify what we have. First, we're going to start with our rebound. So we have the sheet over here, right? We have 3 different rebound options: linear, linear H, and digressive. This shock should have came stock with a linear, and looking at it, I'm positive it came with a linear. Why? So these are our rebound shims. Now the way you measure shims, you measure them diameter-wise. This is 17 millimeter shim, and then the thickness, 0.1 millimeters, right? So if I look over here, I have 2 17 by 0.1 millimeters. Then I should have 1.2 by 10 millimeter. So let's go here. Well, 9.6. That's 10, I'm sure. There we go. Let's zero it out. 9. Yeah, whatever. It's 10 millimeter. So that's 10 millimeter. Question is, okay, let's zero it out. I don't know why I'm having problems here. So that's 0.19. So that's a 2, right? So that goes next, and then closest to the actual nut, that's telling me it's a 0.3 millimeter by 0.10, right? So let's go thickness. Yep, 0.28, 0.29. That's definitely a 3. So we definitely have a linear rebound stack. Now, for the compression stack, this one's easy for me. Why is it easy? These are your typical compression stacks. This is a digressive compression stack. And just looking at these 2 little thin ones over here, that tells me that this absolutely is a digressive, and that's what we will be changing. What I'm going to be putting instead is a full linear stack, just a general linear stack. That works for a lot of people, works for a lot of situations overall, all right? So I'm not going to go into what each one of these means. This video is going to be too long. I want to eliminate that, all right? I might do that next time, but for now, again, we're just going to go into a linear stack. So next I'm going to count whatever I need to create my linear stack and line them up in order to put this thing back together. So I managed to go through the packet, right, and take out all the shims that I needed in order to create a linear tune for this shim stack, for this piston, right? One thing I will say, I mean, this is going to take a bit. Always double check your work. So again, what you're doing over here, you need to be absolutely sure of the diameter and the thickness. Don't kid yourself. These things stick together. You might think they're 1 and it's actually 2. So you got to make sure, even when they're brand new, you got to make sure that they are fully separated before you start measuring them, right? It will take you a bit of time because, well, there's a lot in this bag and it's not all that obvious because there's a lot of sizing over here that's only 1 millimeter apart, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So don't just assume, double check by measuring twice. So In this case, for a linear tune, I need 1 by, so that's what this stands for, 1 by 0.2 millimeters thick with an outer diameter of 20 millimeters. I need 1 by 0.3 millimeters thick with 10 millimeter outer diameter. Then I need 4 by 4, 0.2 millimeters thick by 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I need 2 by 2, 0.2 millimeter thick, 24 millimeters in diameter, and then a 15 millimeter diameter by 1 by 0.1, then a 17 millimeter in diameter by 1 by 0.15. Again, you got to double check, right? Because you might think that, oh, it looks like the other one, but it's not. You really got to double check it. And even this, you got to make sure that you zero it out. If you're going to the number that comes the closest, right? So they're 0.14, 0.15, close enough. So, and then I need 2 by 0.2 at 24 millimeter again. Okay. So, oh, and I needed to change the chuck plate. So this is a whole new chuck plate. The other chuck plate was bigger. So what I did for the other assembly, I kept it as a whole, just in case. I don't know, maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll use it for something else or for someone else. And we'll see how it goes, right? But ultimately, I'm just keeping it intact like this. And whenever I need it, I could just plop it on. Time to put it all back together. Now to put it all back together, we are going to start from the bolt and we're going to go this way. All right, so I have the bolt, and first I'm going to start off with my 0.3 for my rebound. Okay, I'll get in there a little bit tricky because of the threads. My 0.2. I'm surprised I didn't say inches. Okay. And then this guy goes inside here, just like that. No, not like that. Like that. All right. So we are on the inside like that. So next, we move to this side, and we start moving down. So we start with our 24s. All right. Then we go to our 17, 15, 24, 24, 0.2 by 10, 4 of these, 0.2 by 10, 0.2 by 10, 0.2 by 10, 0.3 by 10, and our last one here, which was a 20, I believe. All right, and then our plate. And that is our stack. Now, to play it safe, fit this guy through here, and ta-da, we are done. We could put this guy back on. Make sure that he's sitting all the way down. And there we go. All right, so we're going to take this zip tie or tie wrap, whatever you're using, put it all the way in here, and then we're going to thread it by hand. Make sure that the threads go in and that this thing screws down. Always by hand first. There we go. I just felt it click. That's going in for sure. Yep. Now we are going in. Let's grab our 12 millimeter and do it by hand. All right. Pull that out. Grab our torque wrench, 4.5 Newton meters. .53. You want to be as accurate as possible with this one here. And that takes care of that. Next, we put in our check shims, 0.3, 0.2, this was a 12.75, I think. I don't remember. 15? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The big one goes on top. All right. Then we take our plate, gently put it down, and slowly put it in by hand. Try and thread it by hand. Be very careful here. Well, Careful, spin it lightly. Don't put too much pressure on that pin. You should be able to very lightly spin it around. And once it gets in there real good, we have our tool. Crow's foot, 90-degree angle, 4.5 Newton meters. Let's lock this guy down. Ooh, I could have gotten a lot more. There we go. Come on. Come on. And 4.52. And we take our lifting plate, make sure we align the pinhole to the hole on the fin. Put them in. Let's test them. Put them in lock position. The pedal in lock position should go down, and then it should lift up. And there you have it, folks. You just changed your shim stack tune on your shock. Not a hard job, guys. I mean, it's a little bit involved. Obviously, I skipped out the entire process of disassembling the entire shock in order to get to a point where we could remove the piston assembly over here, right? From this point forward, you would go back to that other video and finish up the installation, which is nothing more than connecting the bottom tube, the damper tube, to the body, screwing it down, well, putting oil in it, screwing it down, bleeding it, so on and so forth, okay? So make sure you go back to that video in order to assemble everything. I didn't want to make one whole video out of this because it would have been way too long of a video for something that's simple, for a video that I already have, all right? Whether you need to do this, again, for me, this will make sense for this particular shock on this particular bike, most likely because, well, I mean, the bike, when you buy it brand new, it comes with linear base tuning for good reasons. So digressive tune, again, it's not going to make sense for that bike. I'm sure, I mean, I know, I've already tried it, and there's parts of it that just don't feel right. So I'm assuming this is going to be a lot better for that particular frame. I would say for 95, if not 99% of the people out there, the bike that you have, unless you change the shock, you don't need to do any of this stuff, right? If you change shocks in a frame, well, depending on what the shock has that you're putting into that other frame, well, you might have to make a change like I'm making over here. All right. So guys, if you like the video, please click the like button. Click the subscribe button to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to get notified when new videos get released and more videos are coming. Till then, hope all is well with all of you, and we will be talking to you soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.